Welcome back to I Watch More Movies Than You, audio and video. You got Ken.
You got Rob.
And we are going to take it to another plane of existence. Rob, are you a huge fan of 70s new German cinema in that wave?
You know it.
Okay, so is all of our listeners. We actually do have a couple Germans, so this is for them.
We have 2 Germans now, or just the one?
Both.
Oh, wow.
And we've
We've doubled our German audience.
Yeah, we're big in Germany. I don't want to delve too deep into why. But, ladies and gentlemen, you're having a deep dive and a great double feature, just like we are. World on a Wire. The title in German is Welt, Draht. It came out in 1973 on West German TV. That was the only way that he could get it made by Guess who I mean? Fassbinder.
Is there a relation to Michael Fassbinder?
I don't know. I don't think so. Fassbinder is his only sci-fi submission, and clocking in at 3 hours and 32 minutes. World on a Wire deep dive.
You know, this was a 2-parter.
Yeah, my Criterion thing split it.
Yeah, it's because it was a made for TV. It was on TV, so it 2 different nights.
Dude,
hour and
they
40
filmed this in 6
piece.
weeks.
Well, I can kind of believe that.
He was notorious for being able to do that, but it's actually kind of tragic.
Tragic.
Because they wonder why, because he had masterpieces.
Oh, right.
But he died at 37.
Wow.
He called somebody, he dumped all of his drugs down the toilet, and he left one line of cocaine. So I'm going to do this one line and I'm done. And that line killed him.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Really? That's tragic.
It's very.
That's very tragic.
That's just the mood we're going for as well here on the pod. Dude, I could listen to Germans just talk and talk and talk, though. It was a really cool language.
Oh, no, it is a cool language.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Kinder and stuff like that. Like it's phonetically just not sensual, but it's not. Believe
it's
me,
not.
It's
hey,
like Motorola being spewed on
it's
you.
not. It's not sensual.
That's true. But people, really tune in for us, because World on a Wire, you may have never heard of it, or you may be searching just for that, needs more eyes on it.
Yeah, it does.
This film disappeared for over a decade.
Yeah. And
they found one digital copy that nerds on the internet were sharing around.
Wow.
And then later his foundation discovered it and brought it back.
And now, 10 years ago, it hit like the film festival
Berlin,
circuits, and now it's in Criterion.
Yeah, that's the one I own. I'm going to show that. Hey, we're on video. I can show you for those that are not listening or not watching. It's a World on a Wire.
None of them are listening. I promise you that.
Criterion here. Got a cool special edition. I recommend this. This was suggested to me by the Criterion channel themselves, because they'll randomly post on Twitter. They'll put, name a director you like or movie you like. Oh,
very nice.
And I did Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I can see that.
I know. Whoever's on there, shout out whoever that is. So also, and we'll talk about the premise and on this episode, is we're going to go to the Matrix.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate says we're already there.
Oh.
I am famously banned by, or what do you call it on Twitter? Blocked.
You're blocked by Andrew Tate?
I have a screenshot. Wow. I've been blocked. I don't remember what I said or why, but he blocked me.
Did you say something like women or people?
Mm-hmm. Probably.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, probably. I was gushing about my kids or my wife or God. About not being a trafficker. But, I mean, I don't have all the... Anyways, we got him. Andrew Tate, come in, buddy. It's in walks Tate, Alex Jones, Trump. I mean, just your little head explode. And I'd be like, ah! No, I'm joking. But you can't talk about the Matrix, in my opinion, without discovering World on a Wire.
Yeah. And
we will talk about why. These are deep dives. Think about this episode as a simulacrum. This is an episode on the simulation theory.
Yeah.
Played out in cinema.
And you're one of these people that you said in the last episode that you believe that anything science fiction has or will come to pass.
I do.
So do you believe that this simulation is something that could happen, has already happened, or is currently happening?
That's a great question. Okay. So, yes.
Okay. All right.
Because...
All right, bring in Alex Jones.
Yeah, no. Here's where I end up on it. obviously I'm a monotheist, so I'm not saying that we're in it or anything like that. The theory's a little bit more intriguing than I gave it credit for initially because, and I promise, God, we're going to do this real quick and we'll jump in. If it's true. So one day, let's just play this out. VR, right? Gaming, all that. We have the Steam Index and the meta. And so it's all, we're in the baby stage. We're in the baby stage. Right. One day, think Ready Player One, think whatever.
I do think Ready Player One is our future.
It's almost here. Like that one's almost like it's.
We passed a guy on the road today wearing his headset.
Dude, you know what I think the move is? Self-driving Tesla, Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah. I saw a guy driving today with the Apple Vision Pro.
Really?
He's driving.
That's a little wild.
Yeah.
Hey, it was my mother. She wouldn't even. She like, with it. I love you, Mom. But when you plug into a VR world, and graphics become indistinguishable from reality, how will you know you're not in a simulation?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because the possibility at that point is there.
Yeah.
So
I think that is a possibility. I don't know that we're going to be plugged into a giant battery machine.
Because it's weird and this, honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen it played out better than World on a Wire. Can I say this right off the bat before I even get into the premise?
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
It's great.
I mean, dude, I could not believe how much I liked it. I like it more than The Matrix.
Really?
Yeah, and I love The Matrix.
I got such a soft spot for The Matrix.
The Matrix is awesome.
It's awesome. I mean, I think they're both pretty neck and neck, but
3.5 hours and that pacing, I swear it flew by.
Yeah.
I mean, it was eerie the way too, like that brutalistic architecture, but with enough to make it kind of Kubrickian.
Let's jump into it.
Okay, so people, the 2001. That's funny. What are we watching? Oh yeah, World on a Wire. I forget we're on video, by the way. So, again by Werner Fassbinder, and came out in 1973. Iconic piece of sci-fi cinema. Premise is, and honestly, I'll probably give my own spin on this, but in the future, there's a simulacron, which is a computer that projects a simulation of reality, and they encounter strange occurrences after its leader's death. So Dr. Stiller I won't do that again.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller questions the sudden disappearance of a friend and wonders if simulacron holds the answers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
At face value?
Yeah.
So basically, we're in the future.
Right.
And they can completely simulate reality. The basis for this is government funded in Germany, which, is a red flag. No, I'm kidding. I got to let them off the hook at some point. Again, to listeners. And they are doing it because there's a steel company and trying to project consumer spending habits, enough resources, things that I could see all coming to bear.
Yeah.
Like, because simulations, I can tell you right now for a fact, if anybody here is a sports bettor, shout out Star, won all that money doing this, but if you get an optimizer, it's simulating the game you're betting on 10,000 times, 100,000 times in a couple of seconds. And then you're betting on what occurred the most.
Wow.
So this is happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what's cool about this is that, again, all the mirrors, by the way, that's a Fassbinder thing. And identity. But
the mirrors are super, anything translucent in this movie is super interesting.
And it had an old school, like the panning of the cameras around those really long shots from the ground looking up. But I was blown away. And I do think all of this could happen.
Yeah.
So if I may, where did we start with this movie? It immediately comes into the other guy dying.
Yeah. I want to start with saying this.
Please.
I feel like that opening, I think it's the opening shot, or it's one of the first shots where you see that car slowly coming.
Yes.
Okay. That looks so flat. It looks so 2D.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know what you call that.
And the car not getting bigger.
Yeah.
Like it would in a normal lens.
Like, oh, really? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I was in my research, so it wasn't organic, but yeah.
But yeah, there's something about the way it's filmed. And that was just an example. I think they kind of do it through most of the
16 millimeter.
Oh, okay.
It was 16 millimeter for TV.
So maybe that's part of it. But there's something about it that just looks so like
that's intentional,
fake, right? Like it has to.
We are going to spoil both of these films.
Yeah.
That's 100% intentional.
Yeah.
There's no way. Fassbinder was way too
and
good.
The way some people talk and the way some people like even how they move is like it feels like they're like they don't even know how to act because they're not real.
They feel like NPCs.
Non-playable characters.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Dude, what about when our protagonist and I love the
that's a video game reference for people who don't play
yes, an NPC is a background character.
Background characters, people that you don't interact with, people that don't contribute to the story. It's like they're just for the
villagers
they're part
in
of
GTA.
They're part of the painting.
Yeah.
Right? They're just part of the art.
Right. 100%. What I love real quick, it's Klaus Loesch plays Fred Stiller. Barbara Valentine was awesome as Gloria Fromm.
Yeah.
I'd shout out to Karl-Heinz Vosgaru. I know I butchered that last one.
Well,
He played
how
Mr.
you just
Siskins.
jump into that without any fear that you're.
I do, yeah.
That you're going to mess up a name.
Then you got Moscow
and
Robin.
I know you didn't research it before.
No,
you didn't try to learn how to say their names.
No.
We're
on ESPN. I can say
we're not getting paid for this.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Paid in love and 5-star reviews and shares.
Yeah,
we love y'all. Wolfgang Schneck, but dude, no, seriously, Karl-Heinz Vosgaru. He played Herbert Siskins. He played Mr. Siskins. His performance was so good.
Everybody's performance.
Does this not feel like a little bit noir?
It is noir.
Yeah. Like in a way.
Yeah.
And Germans are great at noir. We saw signs that was coming in German expressionism and M for murder. Yeah. But they're great because if you look at this, I completely agree with you. People overact on purpose. They express themselves in their face, or their words don't even matter.
You know what it reminded me of? I know we've talked about this a lot on the show recently, but it reminds me of Twin Peaks.
Dude, I got a little bit
because
of Twin Peaks
because it is overreacting and it is melodramatic, and that's part of it. Because I think just like Twin Peaks, there's something behind the curtain, behind what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like whatever you're seeing is a stage play, and the real story is happening backstage.
I mean, you even see that in some of the shots.
Yeah.
When our main guy's talking in an office, and the camera goes all the way out of the office, and they stay small.
What is it about movies that do that, though? Right? Because some of the best movies have this theme of everything we're putting in front of you either doesn't exist or it doesn't make sense because the real story is back here in the very back. I mean,
that's brilliant.
Think about
that's brilliant. That's a great way to put it.
Think about the Wizard of Oz. They literally do that in Wizard of Oz. It's literally behind a curtain. Yeah. And at the end you have an entirely different narrative.
That's really
than
cool.
What you're starting with.
It's subversion.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie, I mean, wrote the book on that. I would say like one of my favorite, the opening scene. I have a note here where you see the simulation. So we open on the simulation center, and the film has this really disorienting tour of the Institute for Cybernetics and Futurology, where we're introduced to the supercomputer Simulacron. The source material of this is Simulacron 3. It's a book. And another movie, 13th Floor, uses it. I've never seen that.
I haven't either, but I've heard of it.
It would have been we'll get naked and watch it. But that set the tone immediately for the exploration through simulated realities and really, really blurred lines. But you don't realize this movie oozes paranoia.
Yeah.
I mean, it captures it. I don't know, in the performances that are intentional with that, and all of the reflections. I think too, I have a note here with like how visually the storytelling in this movie, almost the words don't even matter. It really is moving pictures. Yeah. And exploring the concept of simulated realities anyways, it's becoming just more relevant and more popular than ever. And he was doing that in 1973.
And this does not even, because I mean, I don't know if you remember, but when The Matrix came out, which we'll get to, that idea was mind-blowing for 1999 audiences. Yeah. Think about 1973, and it's not just like you're just dealing with a simulation. You're dealing with levels of a simulation.
There's
right?
an awesome line. And yeah, do you want to, I guess we can take it a little chronological and then get to that, because that's such a good, I'm with you, and that's such a good line. So yeah, so you're dropped in on that, and then the head guy, mysteriously dies. Right. So then our protagonist, who we follow, Fred Stiller, takes his spot as head of this simulation computer. And then he's, by the way, I thought it was a wonderful performance. He reminded me of you in a lot of ways. I don't really know why, but it's Klaus Losich.
Was it?
Why did he remind me of you?
Was it the good looks?
Maybe
was
the
it
stature,
his power.
I don't know if he had power.
Size of his.
He was
Johnson?
Maybe it's that, or maybe it's because he was married to Helga Heinrich.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? You're a huge Helga fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Huge on Helga.
But no joke, the performances all in this were amazing. Again, for me, the standout was Carl, though. But, so we're dropped in there. Long movie. By the way, the pacing was incredible, if you want to talk about that. Yeah. It never felt long for me.
Right.
It's what, you know what I mean? Super paranoid, super cold in its shots, a lot of awesome mirrors. But this movie just goes down and down the white rabbit hole matrix. And when I saw this, I had a huge desire and more
white rabbit hole, they called me in college.
I look at the camera like Jim. No, look at the camera. The production and style and the cinematic techniques used by Fassbinder, it's such a distinctive visual style in this. The set designs, the reflective surfaces, mirror shots, everything's disorienting. It feels otherworldly because the world, it's like Uncanny Valley. The world in which this is shot, people, it's light, it's all of that, but again, it's that brutalist working under fluorescence, but there's something off. There's something, but he shows you that not through exposition, which there is, but the way it's shot, those long camera pans, all of the mirrors, the acting, the intentional decisions the actors made to be a little off, to be a little melodramatic, as you put it, reinforcing the themes of illusion and reality. Long uninterrupted takes, I will always be a huge fan of. A lot of unconventional cameras stuff used in here that in my research, it was used in like the 40s and 50s that they don't use anymore. Not really Dutch angles and stuff like that, which Brian De Palma brought back in Mission Impossible, but it's just, he was so talented.
Yeah.
Like there's two other ones that people think are better than this or masterpieces. He did all of that by 30. So he shot this at 27 years old.
That's crazy.
Another thing I think is really cool is the philosophical depth. It does tackle it. I'm trying to get to. It's definitely paranoia, and there's definitely control. But what would you say is there a singular big question this is asking? Is it the same one the Matrix asks?
It's funny you say that because I think the Matrix and World on a Wire is asking the same question, and they have different answers.
Ooh. You care to elaborate? That's amazing.
Yes, because I think both movies are searching for truth. But World on a Wire searches for truth that leads into madness. Even though there's like a fairly happy ending.
Yeah, and we'll get to it. Throw me for a loop.
But I think what you end up getting is like madness, where I think the Matrix is a search for truth that leads to freedom, or you could also substitute for purpose. I think everybody else gets freedom and Neo gets purpose. I don't ever feel like Neo's free, especially with the sequels. But
that is fascinating.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's the same question because they're both faced with the same problem.
They arrive at different conclusions.
Yes, but there's also a more mythological element to Matrix that we'll get to.
Yeah, Fred Stiller is not Neo.
No.
He's not Neo.
There is no concept of a Neo in this world.
Which I think I may like that. Our video just went out, but we're going to keep going for our audio listeners.
Oh, wow.
Why I think I like that is because I think that's one of my... We'll get into it when we get to the Matrix. One of the things that pulls me back is it does takes on this comic book superhero.
Yeah.
Where you do have all this amazing world building, but then you end it in a similar way to a bunch of other things in a fist fight.
With World on a Wire, you get, as you mentioned before, this is noir. And so it operates in a more gray area, I think. And so, your protagonist, Fred, is I don't know how much we want to get into too many spoilers here. I mean, I guess we are spoiling it, but
I would say go watch it, people, because this one's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun to spoil,
and it's one to. It's one that I think you really need to like kind of. This is one of those you really pay attention. You really look for all the meaning behind it, because our protagonist is kind of stuck in this place where he knows that there's more. And
he can feel it. He can see it.
It's one of the. I say this all the time, kind of as a joke, but I'll say just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the definition of this movie. Of this movie. I almost called it a series because I guess it technically was, but I think it's best to watch it together as a movie. But yeah, so I mean, it's definitely this. This gritty take on levels of the surreal.
Yeah. I love that. Just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Yeah. Which is, I think, unfortunately, something maybe you and I live by too much. But
you just gave every weirdo a pass.
Yeah, I know exactly. No, and that's the danger behind it. That's why people are paranoid. But there's this. This movie also kind of reminded me of The Truman Show. You ever watched The Truman Show?
One of my favorite movies. I've been to his house.
That's right. Yeah, you told me that. So, and you could have you can take that concept to a place that is just, man, because the difference is, like, Neo doesn't know that there's another world out there. Mm-hmm. He is taken by the hand and shown it almost begrudgingly. Because that's what you often see in a protagonist in a big heroic epic is an unwillingness to go on the adventure at first. Frodo, Luke Skywalker, that kind of thing. But so Neo is kind of led by the hand. Fred is sort of forced into this by his own. I don't know what I'm saying. By his own eagerness, maybe by his own. Paranoia.
Well, think about what happens too. He sees his boss die.
Yeah.
And his friend, you get this crazy picture of him just disappearing.
Yeah. So
everybody forgot the guy's name.
It's crazy. Dude. I mean, you would think you are insane at that point. Like, you would think that you're losing it.
Probably why everybody drinks so much whiskey in this movie. Did you notice that? Mm-hmm. They love their. I didn't know.
Do you think there was something deeper about that? I wonder if that was on purpose. Is there some sort of message of being?
We're back.
Held down by.
Where are you?
There
you are. There he is.
Oh, I'm like Fred's boss. It just disappeared.
See, we were doing that. It's all part of it, people.
Yeah.
No, I think that. I think you're spot on just because you're paranoid. You're not wrong. Actually, really, I don't mean to harp on that, but that's a really, really.
I mean, that would be the tagline I would make for this film.
Yeah,
if I could.
There's a lot of depth to this film. It was culturally and historically significant. New German cinema movement I mentioned earlier. And then it's rediscovery, in 2010, which is crazy. And I think it influenced all of science fiction after it. A lot of it, I should say. It definitely was an evolution of the genre. Virtual reality, simulated worlds. And I promise this movie for me does it in a way that's more unsettling than The Matrix. We'll get into Matrix.
Oh yeah, it's definitely unsettling.
Because think about it, you're at work, a guy dies, you're like, okay, and you get the promotion. Mm-hmm. Then another guy who was kind of keen to the other guy's work, who said some wild things, the scientist that passed away, and he disappears. And no one even knows his name. There was an article written in a German newspaper. Mm-hmm. You go back to that to try to find it when he goes to the Daily Bugle. Mm-hmm. And it is, when Superman came in this movie, by the way, that's a surprise. And then he showed up.
Daily Bugle Spider-Man, but all right.
You hear me?
What?
And then to go back to that, and the biggest gaslighting of all, same date and everything, article's different. And then, I mean, this was a very unsettling film.
And I'd have to imagine for 1973, this blows people out of the water because 1999, you get The Matrix, people are getting used to the idea of the internet.
Yeah.
It's been around for a few years.
Still a cool wave to ride there, though.
It's still new enough that you don't really realize that it's taking over everything, like it is now.
The computer as an invention.
Yes.
in 73 they even knew it.
Yeah.
Was going to fundamentally change humanity.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I would say that modern audiences didn't know that. Most people didn't have a computer in their home.
Yeah.
So
the
idea that we are being that we're kind of enslaved by the system is so science fiction.
That's more Matrix. I think the Matrix leans more into that than this does.
They do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, you're right.
But
it's also the definition of what is enslavement. If you're talking about like, you know, in one of the not the one we're covering today, but in one of the sequels, a character talks about that actually. Like, yeah, we're not in the Matrix anymore, but but we're still a slave to these machines because we still rely on them. Yeah, and so I think Fred has found himself in a place where
video people,
he is captured. You know what I mean? I mean, he is stuck.
So is he okay?
Don't you think?
Yes. And it's not enough.
Maybe it's not quite as black and white as say what's going on.
Well, it's like, okay, are they Plato's allegory of the cave? Like, there's no doubt, like, once you know that real existence and you've been open to it, can you maintain status quo or not? He can't.
He can't.
Some can.
Some can. And they kind of talk about that in the Matrix a little bit.
Yeah, Matrix is even more that than this, in my opinion.
But this movie walked so that Matrix could run, I think. It gets a little deeper into the ideas.
I think it does, genuinely, because we follow... And again, Rob, what I think happened there, by the way, is because I had it on when I was using the bathroom and all that, I think it probably got a little hot.
Oh, okay.
But we still got audio, and we'll do enough clips of that. I'll figure it out. So, but I think that World on a Wire, without it, you can't tell me the Matrix wasn't heavily influenced by it.
Oh, it had to,
because we have the 73 picture where the guy, again, just to give it in, Stiller's working on a computer. That guy dies, his friend disappears, and he is working on the simulation computer. And they say they're another business, another looking at and not trusting these capitalistic foundations, or for them to do the right thing and not do whatever. So you have suspicions they're using it for other things because, again, the gentleman, Mr. Siskins, and his involvement in wanting to use it for a company, a steel company, and consumer buying habits and whatnot. But first of all, I love the helmets they put on. Those are amazing. But when they go, so basically, people, what happens here is they can put on these awesome, like 2001 Space Odyssey, like helmets, and go into the simulation in the computer and inhabit a virtual body there, but it all looks real. It's completely convincing. So what happens there is it starts to blur the lines. You don't really... I actually was not onto them at first. Because you see him go down there and all of that, and then little things are weird, like when he's spinning in his seat at the same time. Mr. Siskin's in, Gloria Fromm, that weird sex club thing. Yeah. Like, again, stuff is just a notch off of our vibration of reality.
And it being just a notch off makes it so uncomfortable.
I know. Yeah, no, it's
like
fascinating.
It's like that theory that, you've heard this theory of why people are freaked out by, like, baby dolls and stuff like that.
No, is that the Uncanny Valley thing?
Maybe.
What is it?
It's where there's a theory that we've only learned to fear things that have been aggressors to us before. So for some reason, there's a theory that at some point humanity encountered something that was human-like but not human, and that's why we get bothered by things like mannequins and baby dolls and stuff like that.
That's fascinating.
Because it's not, it looks human, but it's not.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy to let your mind go to, like, what was that?
Because I have a real problem with mannequins. Actually.
Yeah, do you?
I really do.
They don't really bother me.
And
neither do dolls.
I think dolls are freaky, but mannequins actually kind of freak me out.
Really?
Yeah, I can't look at them too long. It's weird.
Hey, well, we got them.
and so I kind of hate. I love that theory, but I hate it because what does that mean? Like that's
that's a great screenplay idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a log line.
Yeah,
and this is interesting because again, it's so incredibly well shot, cinematography, everything's so intentionally paranoid, and things are just a tad bit off. And through his lens, you start picking up just as it's revealed to him. And then through a few good scenes, like I have some of my favorite scenes here, because you see his first experience with paranoia, Fred Stiller's. And that's when we already said that, when Gunther, right, mysteriously disappeared, which captured that. And then the reflection scene, you see him a lot of times gazing into the mirror, and that ends up having more meaning, more than just a fractured sense of self or like an introspective journey. That ends up having a multitude of meanings. Then I have the bar fight. I don't know if you remember that, though, and it was really cool because it kind of wakes you up in this really sterile environment, but shows his increasingly unstable in that environment. Right. He's starting to, his meeting with Eva Vollmer, because Vollmer's who passed, and here's his daughter, and his interactions with her, how alluring she was. It had that noir feel to it a little bit, checking his office. I had the desolate factory, where he goes to that, I don't even remember this, a grim and haunting location is what the factory. We had a bunch of dystopian elements. The score in this was amazing, by the way, so was the sound design, but I don't remember that one as much. I love to do this.
There's a lot to take in.
It's 3.5. It's over 3.5 hours.
And it needs to. It really probably deserves a second viewing.
I think so too.
Not because you can't understand it really, but there's just so much there. Like you said, it's an almost 4-hour movie.
Can I tell you something that's happening in the background when we're watching it?
What?
Same actors used in the background,
and they do the same thing in The Matrix.
Oh, that's cool.
They do.
See, you can't tell me this.
You only see it when they're in The Matrix, obviously. You see a very small cast.
So knowing that, and then fast forward, go back in time to 73, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it with a pretty unique lens.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So people, basically, though, he goes into this other reality. Things start happening in his reality in World on a Wire. Again, go watch this movie. We're kind of spoiling it. And he starts to kind of come on, especially at a confrontation with Vollmer's doppelganger. And he has a realization. I think he was in The Office. He starts piecing things ever together, and you really do get that sense of claustrophobia, which this movie captures really, really well. Yeah. But he starts thinking, hold on a second. How do I know I'm not in a simulation?
Right.
And then it gets wild.
There's just
that third act.
Yeah,
it is layered. And he brings up that amazing bit of dialogue when he's trying to convince someone else, an NPC. If we can go down there, means into the simulation, infinite times, could we not also go up there? And how do we know? And I mean, that question is unanswerable. So,
weirdly enough, this movie has a kind of a cookie cutter ending. Because
it does.
Because he presumably gets out. He's by the help of his lady.
Yeah.
And at the end you have this wide open space. You don't have that claustrophobia. You don't have a room full of mirrors. You don't have a room full of windows.
Yeah.
You kind of see that that world looks very real. It looks very lived in. It looks very tangible. And then it ends with them just, I think it ends with them kissing, right?
It does.
Like the last shot.
So do you think,
but that's my question. Is he still in a simulation?
Okay, so you guys have that from Bobby, and we could be spoiling more here, and we're choosing not to.
Yeah.
How he comes up there, we'll leave to you to watch the film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll leave some to the imagination. Watch this movie.
Yes.
It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I've been waiting on this in the pod. I've been waiting somebody just to knock my pants off, and you come in and finish it.
Wow.
And
I hate
that's
that.
really, that's what you have here.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
One of the best movies I've ever seen. Here we are, early 30s, when we run into some German 1973 movie.
It's crazy.
That was barely saved.
This is why.
Barely.
I hate this. Is how cheesy this is. This is why we do this.
It is
because discovering hidden gems like this.
It's in our opening.
Yeah,
we want to explore and discover whatever it says. And
we don't know.
I agree.
I don't listen,
but that's
never listen to the podcast.
Me neither. No, I can't help it. Maybe that makes.
I don't like podcasts.
Yeah, he hates movies. But I do think Fassbinder was a genius.
Yeah,
and this does also beg the question, and maybe it's a positive take on purpose. I tend to try to lean that way. It makes life more bearable, right? And as a Christian, it's easier. But like, ish. Does that mean love? Love is what makes it all worth it.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
I know.
That's the theme. That's the theme in both movies.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's end World on a Wire here. Again, people, we are more invested in the emotionalism than pragmatism. We are more invested in how the film makes us feel and going on that journey with you guys than necessarily a breakdown. So that was World on a Wire. Guess what's up next? The Matrix.
The Matrix.
As if it needs an introduction. We go from World on a Wire to The Matrix by the Wachowskis. I'll give them the, again, doesn't need it, but when a beautiful stranger leads computer hacker Neo to a forbidding underworld, he discovers a shocking truth. The life he knows is the elaborate deception of an evil cyber intelligence. Your nickname in high school.
I mentioned this last week on the pod, but this was almost Will Smith.
That's yeah.
It's almost Will Smith and Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer was going to be Morpheus, and Will Smith was going to be Neo. He's even admitted that Keanu Reeves was made for this movie. I mean, I can't imagine another Neo.
I can't either.
Yeah.
That is wild. That is a neat little bit of trivia. So you have Thomas A. Anderson. I love when the agent goes, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. Played by Hugo Weaving, who
got him.
Oh man, he is one of the best in the business. I truly think that.
What else have I seen him in?
He's Elrond in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's right.
He's V in V for Vendetta.
He's so good.
He's so good.
Wow, he shows up a few times, but he's just a masterclass.
Yeah, and I mean, I truly think the intention was for him to only be in this film, but then when they decided to do sequels, they had to bring him back. Yeah, because I mean, it's just not the same without. He is so good. He plays a perfect villain.
Yeah,
perfect.
He's one of the ingredients that makes this movie so incredible.
Oh yeah.
And I know everyone's seen it. Again, we're going to spoil The Matrix. Talk about a movie that's became so outsized itself.
Do you remember seeing this for the first time?
I would have been 9 or 10. I remember seeing it countless times. I don't know if I remember the first.
People will talk about 1999 as being a great year for movies. And if you look at the movies that came out in 99, there's some...
Titanic as well?
No, Titanic was a couple years before that. Episode 1, Star Wars Episode 1 came out in 99.
Eyes Wide Shut.
House
on the Haunted Hill.
And so for a year...
13th Floor.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, there was 3 movies that were kind of along the same line as World on a Wire that came out in 99 or released in production at the time.
Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense. Well, there's some banger movies that came out in 99.
I hardly know her.
And this movie stands up against all of them.
Oh, yeah. Dude, did Iron Giant come out in 1999? Oh, my goodness.
I think so, yeah. A lot of good stuff came out.
Hey, let us know in a comment down below, because it's on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And a 5-star review. Yeah. Best movie out of 1999.
Yes. Yeah.
October Sky.
Question. That's a great... October Sky.
My favorite Martian, The Mummy.
Oh, The Mummy.
No, The Mummy. Yeah.
Is The Mummy in 99?
Yeah.
Listen, I do genuinely... I'm not even talking about an algorithm thing. I genuinely want to know what you... Like, people...
Stuart Little.
I want to know what your favorite 1999 movie is.
Dude, did blockbuster movie years peak in 99?
I think, there's an argument for it.
Holy moly.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff happened.
Yeah.
I remember sitting with some friends, and they had, I saw The Matrix like a year or two later.
Oh, nice.
Maybe like a year later. And I remember sitting with some friends, and they were trying to explain to me what The Matrix was. And I just don't get it. I'm just like, what is this?
That's cool.
And then I actually sat down with those same friends.
And murdered them.
And I put them in a...
What?
No.
Let's say you ate them.
Yeah.
Like you're...
What?
What?
I didn't kill them.
Oh, good.
I know I just said that, and I almost admitted to murder.
Like you were playing a game of Magic the Gathering.
I meant that they're in the bottom of a lake somewhere.
Blair Witch Project.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Dude, Magnolia. Dude,
The list goes on.
Okay, so I find that interesting. So they were trying to explain to you.
So they were trying to explain to me the Matrix, but they were explaining it like out of context. Like they were trying to explain different aspects of it. And so I remember sitting down, and I joke, but these were great people. These were really great people.
Sorry, people.
And yeah, sorry, people. Sorry, friends. We don't speak anymore. But
we don't talk any like that,
huh?
Continue.
No, we don't speak as in we haven't talked to each other in 20 years.
Toy Story 2.
But we sat down and watched this movie, and I was blown away.
Really?
I'm blown away by the concept because it's science fiction in a way that we hadn't experienced science fiction before.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
wild. Yeah,
because I would argue that Star Wars isn't really science fiction. It's more fantasy. It's more like
that. Yeah, there's no
technology fantasy. I mean, there's a sci-fi element, sure.
Yeah,
some of those things can be. I look at science fiction as things that can be based in science that could actually potentially happen. So there are aspects of Star Wars, like space travel, droids, that kind of thing. But this was like a new Blade Runner for our generation or something. Like it's
100%. Fight Club 1990 as well.
Oh wow.
I'm sorry, I can't get.
No,
over
that's
it.
crazy. Yeah,
it's
a crazy year.
This I've never seen anything like.
Yeah, it's a crazy. Could you? I would have loved to experience like.
I would have never left the theater.
No, I know. To be a teenager, like a proper teenager in the 90s, that would have been wild.
We were just little weenies.
Yeah. Yeah. What were we doing? Watching.
I was playing Magic.
Yeah. At 1999?
And Snuff.
I was doing Coke and Pokemon.
I was 9 years old watching Brian De Palma pictures. You wouldn't catch me in the theater unless it was a 15th run theater out in Casablanca. Or Las Casas, sorry.
It was somewhere.
You get it. Yeah. Dude, no, The Matrix is interesting, okay? Because it's incredible. Mm-hmm. It's just a generation-defining film. So
you want to give like a short synopsis of like exactly what?
Yeah. Do you want me to read? Okay. Yeah. Thomas A. Anderson is a man living two lives, and this is Neo. But before it's Neo, it's Keanu Reeves. By day, he's an average computer programmer, and by night, he's a hacker known as Neo. Neo's always questioned his reality, but the truth is far beyond his imagination. I love his apartment in this, by the way. It's cozy and cyberpunk. Neo finds himself targeted by the police when he is contacted by Morpheus, a legendary computer hacker branded a terrorist by the government. As a rebel against the machines, it's funny, they play I think they played that song at the end, Rage Against Me. Neo must confront the agent's super powerful computer programs devoted to stopping Neo and the entire human rebellion. So it's much more interesting than that. Like, that's what's cool about it. You actually watch it. It's the storytelling, it's the cinematography, it's performances, it's
exactly.
The
and it's definitely an action movie.
Whereas
our previous picture wasn't necessarily an action movie.
I'd almost argue I want too much.
Too much action?
I wanted to be challenged more intellectually by this awesome world and mythos they created.
Well, I don't know how much you remember the sequels. The sequels.
I don't remember them well.
The sequels.
I'm gonna rewatch them.
They're not nearly as good. And they do have a lot of action, but they also challenge the idea of the multiple layers of coding a machine. Like they even challenge in the sequels that that this is not the first time the Matrix has happened.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so it gets deep.
So when you pull back the curtains, just tell the people in the first Matrix, you have this barren wasteland because we get this whole myth again. We're spoiling it. Of man versus machines. So Neo,
get on Bobby. Neo finally, after being chased down by these agents that are supernatural in nature, he finally is able to meet up with Trinity and Morpheus. And we've already seen by this point, we've already seen Trinity in action because the movie picture starts off with her, and she is doing uncanny things. Like she's, I mean, this is the first time we're seeing bullet time on screen.
Yeah.
So the idea of bullet time,
it's unbelievable.
Like the special effects that were used, which is interesting because our previous movie, no special effects. Everything was practical.
Yeah.
There was no CGI back then. There was no bullet time. There was nothing of the sort. So it's really interesting that you have two movies that are very similar in ideology, but they're very different in execution.
Big time. I love both. Again, they both work for me in different ways.
And so Neo, he's offered a choice, a red pill or blue pill situation.
That's where that comes from. For our Gen Zers.
And he chooses the red pill so he can wake up from the Matrix and experience the real world. So he gets he gets unplugged.
Get the veil away.
Right. He gets unplugged from essentially a giant battery, and he sees real life, which is awful. Like there's the sun is scorched. The humans live underground. It's very kind of the aesthetic of the real world in Matrix kind of reminds me of Alien a little bit.
Yeah.
Like that greasy, like dark,
hope, devoid of all hope.
There is a hopeless society.
Yeah, it's miserable. And Mad Max and
it's not
Mad Max.
It's not the year 1999. It is like 2090, like 999, something. It's like 1,000 years ahead of time than what the computers are telling you that it is.
Yeah,
or something like that. And so he goes through all this physical, like kind of like not physical, but like mental training, and they teach him to do these. Well, they really just download programs so that in the Matrix he can do these incredible moves because Morpheus believes that he's the one that can.
He's a messianic figure.
That he is a, and I'm glad you said that because there is so much allegory for God and religion, and I mean,
we can't. It's in our programming.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, yeah. And there's something
can't escape.
And it's so interesting because. And as told by the Agent Smith later, the computers look at humanity.
I love Michael Scarn's cameo, by the way. Continue. Agent Michael Scarn. It's an deep officer. Threat level midnight. No, continue. The agents.
But the agents look at humanity as a virus.
Yeah.
Literally as a disease that needs to be eradicated. Where so that whole narrative is being built around Neo, and then also this whole narrative of him being, like you said, a messiah type figure, which is interesting because there's also the argument that Morpheus is kind of that as well. He's willing to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, wow.
For Neo.
They're like two parts
and of course Neo rearranges those letters. It's just one. It's just the one.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah. So
I don't even know if I ever thought about that.
Yeah, and then Trinity, literally, I mean the name. Like
darn.
You're those three figures are the three pillars that save or destroy. That's why I said this has a much more ideological, mythological, religious undertone to it. A more spiritual, I'll say that.
It's definitely
it's definitely more spiritual. And so that's why I think
and on all slamming whiskeys and Gestapo.
This truth seeking leads to purpose, leads to freedom, leads to a higher calling. Whereas,
let me ask you this: though, did it throw you off when he goes to Neo is coming to terms with this, kind of like in Dune 2, where what do you say?
I know Kung Fu.
I know.
I'm sorry. Answer your question.
Well, no,
ask me the question.
I'd love your thoughts because you're well versed in this film. Mm-hmm. When Neo goes and he's taken to where this movie's at its most fascinating, and I do side with Roger Deeper a little bit, but I think it's a little better than he did. He liked it. He just wanted to be challenged more, right? I love this when they're going to interiors of the Matrix and the Matrix they're in. So
like you're talking about when they're doing
when he goes to visit the Oracle,
right?
And you see the guy in that, and I just want to live in that.
The Oracle is so interesting because
that's what I was going to ask you about. Please,
she's literally So Morpheus believes with his entire soul that the fate of what's left of the human race lies on Neo.
Yeah.
Whereas most people,
no pressure.
When most people are just hoping to stand their ground, stay hidden, use what forces they have to fight off the machines. He believes in this prophecy. Yeah, he's like one of the only. He's kind of like the religious nut of the group. They're like,
dude, like the what's his face's character in Dune 2?
Yes. Well, and I want to say I don't mean religious nut like in a negative way at all because he's right. He's the only person that's right in this movie.
Right.
Even Neo, because Neo doesn't believe he's the one.
Yeah.
And so
in the Oracle. That threw me off. I forgot that she says that.
Yeah. So he thinks he knew that his purpose was he would find the one because the oracle told him that.
Yeah.
And I am gonna challenge you on something here because this is a deep thought.
Yeah, please.
The whole scene with the oracle. So Morpheus takes Neo to see the oracle, and she tells him he's not the one, right?
Yeah.
And so when he walks out, he tells Morpheus, he's about to tell Morpheus. Morpheus says, "Whatever happened in that room is for you and you alone." And then he doesn't need to know the answer because he believes in his soul that Neo is the one. Let me ask you this though: do you remember when he knocks over the cookies in the oracle's kitchen? Right. Okay. So let me back up. So he goes.
Yeah.
He goes into the oracle's apartment. It looks like just a New York apartment.
Yeah.
And there's some other kids there. It almost looks like it's a waiting room for an audition to be the one because there's all these other kids and there's this one kid who's bending a spoon with their mind, and he goes, How do you know how to do that? Because he can't figure all this out.
Yeah.
He can't figure out how to
very early in his journey.
how to bend the matrix to his will. And so the kid says, the thing you have to remember is that there is no spoon. And
it's such a good line.
Once you have that idea, you can kind of work your way around it. But so he goes to talk to the oracle in the kitchen. And here's what I want to know.
Yeah.
So she says, she goes, and don't worry about the cookies. Or is it the vase? It's not the cookies, it's the vase.
Yeah.
He knocks the vase over.
Yeah.
And she says,
cookies
is the thing of the second one, I think. But so she goes, don't worry about the vase. And he goes, what vase? And he turns around and he knocks it over.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I'm sorry. She goes, what's really going to bake your noodle later is if you think about, would you have knocked it over if I hadn't said anything?
Oh, darn.
So here's what I want to know. Did Morpheus, she told Morpheus that he would find the one.
Yeah.
Does she tell him that because he is destined to find the one? Or does he only find the one because she told him he would be the one to find the one? Just like the vase.
Right.
Would Neo have knocked it over if she hadn't said anything about it?
What is that asking?
I think it's asking if you're taking your destiny into your own hands.
Or if it's going to play out how it's written.
Yeah. Which that idea is challenged in the second Matrix movie.
Yeah.
Very much so. So, because the idea is, so towards the end, Neo told Trinity, he goes, I'm not the one. You know, and Morpheus is going to die on his belief that I'm the one, but the Oracle told me I'm not the one. Trinity's over there saying, you have to be the one, because the Oracle told Trinity that she would fall in love with the one. But did she fall in love with him because she believed Morpheus, who said he was the one, and she knew that she was supposed to fall in love with the one? I think it does. I think it does challenge you. You just have to think hard about it.
Yeah. No. That's a paradox. That's a paradox.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know that there's an answer for that.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's supposed to be an answer for that. I'm not even sure if you're supposed to be asking yourself that. Because for years, I didn't even think of that. Like,
that's what I mean. The ideas presented are so tantalizing.
Because there is the idea that it's just destiny, and that Neo was always going to be the one, and that Morpheus was told he was going to find the one because it was his destiny to find him. But what if that's just because the Oracle told him so? Because the Oracle's just a program. She's not a real person. She's just another program in the machine.
But they trust.
Right.
Where everything else is out to get them.
Right. They call her in the second movie, he meets a character called the Architect. And the Architect says, if I'm the father of the Matrix, she is undoubtedly the mother. Yeah, okay. And so I wonder, just like you would tell your kids, like I tell my kid, like, you can do anything you want to. Does our kid believe they can do anything they want to because we told them to? And then you have to ask, does it matter? Like, yeah, exactly. Could anybody have been the one? Because Neo, by the end of it, he believed he was the one. And so when he started believing, he was able to see the code. Yeah, that was a great scene. It is a great scene. Great scene. So it really does challenge, like, what is destiny?
No, it is. No, it's not just. Yeah, I don't fully. That's why Roger Ebert gave it a 3-star, and I do not give it more. Because it does ask big questions. It is Plato's allegory of the cave. Do you want to know your reality? And if you do, what now is your burden?
Yeah.
Are we all Neo?
We all have the potential to be Neo.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, they don't come out and say that in the movie. I just think it's an interesting idea.
I guess I like knowing some of my stuff is more about, I guess, the people in that world.
Oh yeah.
More, you know what I mean? And like, the conclusion of his fight and this good versus evil, and stuff like that. What about the people?
One of the Cypher, who is a part of Morpheus's team.
Yeah.
But he ends up meeting with one of the...
He's Judas.
Yes, he is. He is Judas. You're right. I hadn't thought about it that way, but he is Judas. He betrays Morpheus and Neo, and he wants to be plugged back into the Matrix. So he makes a deal with the devil, essentially.
And he's a blue... That's blue pill.
He even says... He says, I know what you're thinking. He tells Neo at some point early on, he goes, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I take the blue pill? He wants to be plugged back in. He wants to forget about this struggle. It's a hard life. He just. It's
a hard life.
He just wants his bag of coins,
and that's very. Yeah, you're right. No, that's why I don't reach this same conclusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
R.I.P. He's amazing.
I mean, there's just, because there's just. Obviously, I just think there's deeper layers to this, and we've also had the ability of spending. 25 years with this movie. Mm-hmm. We have spent a long time with this movie, so we've had time to kind of dig into the theories and the
different reads,
ideologies, and the spiritual messages.
Yeah,
like there's a lot there, and
it is a on a pure movie tangible.
It's
a beautiful
fun to
movie.
Watch.
It's fun. It's pinnacle.
I can't remember which John Wick movie. But there's a scene where he's talking to somebody and he says, we need guns, lots of guns. And I got so happy because that's a callback to the Matrix. Do you remember?
Yeah.
They're standing there right before him and Trinity go to go save Morpheus.
Yeah.
He goes, we need guns, lots of guns. And then all those
holy
aisles
cow.
Just, yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things that has such limitless potential that but they do make the martial arts awesome.
Oh,
they do.
It's so great.
You know what I mean? Like, how else are you gonna? Because this whole thing plays out in virtual reality. Like, no, it's an excellent movie.
Yeah,
I was blown away by World on a Wire. Mm-hmm. That's why I put it. Like, I really was. Like, I haven't felt that in so long, man.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have the Matrix or Inception.
No, you don't have that. No, you don't have most of this. Without it.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
I would like to do some more research into the Wachowskis and where this comes from because they're playing with some big stuff.
Yeah. I think the sequels are a lot less. There's diminishing returns. For sure. But
I do like the heady stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like I like Prometheus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't needed. You could have kept it just there and Alien. And it'd been better, and our imagination's better.
Because the sequels to the Matrix deal heavily on the actual city of Zion, where the last bit of humans are living.
Okay, yeah, this is the city of Zion.
Yeah, Morpheus' ship is called the Nebuchadnezzar.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot to there. So the last city of Zion. Has a bunch of people who just want, like one of the commanders, he just wants ships, he just wants artillery, he wants weaponry, because that's what he believes in. And there's a great line where Morpheus says, basically this captain asks him why he won't like step in line. He goes, because I don't believe our destiny lies in how many ships we have.
That's cool.
And it's just how they lean into believing in something is weirdly inspiring.
And the funny thing I've always said about the multiple, we'll say simulation theory, is it is 100%. It's almost like you're bending over backwards to not just try to say God.
Right.
Because say you have a simulation theory.
Yeah.
Who's creating it?
Right.
Someone outside of space, outside of time. A capital G God. So like, I think that the Wachowskis were definitely exploring that.
I think so too, yeah.
And a really fast. No, you're right. I mean, genuinely, even this conversation, and I'm fungible on it because I love the Matrix. I hope I didn't come on. I love the Matrix.
No, but the first several times I watched it purely as an action film.
Yeah.
And as you spend more time with it.
Oh, I love movies like that.
Yeah, I mean,
you age with them.
I don't know if for everybody this movie has aged well, but I think the theology behind it and the ideology behind it, and even the technology ideas behind it.
Oh, I think it's aged like fine wine.
Yeah, I think I think some of that stuff is more applicable today
this
than
movie,
it ever has been.
100%.
Especially,
100%.
I mean, we're living in the rise of AI, and that's essentially what this is. I mean, the machines took over.
Right.
That's the thing here is that there is
what do you think's going to happen to a lot of jobs in the next 5 to 10 years?
There is no human leader behind this. Yeah. This is literally the machines got smart enough to think for themselves.
Machine learning.
And they said, well, we don't need, the only thing we need humans for now are batteries. They use us as a life source to keep their machines running.
It's crazy.
And just how you mentioned about World on a Wire, how they would use those NPCs in the background.
Yeah.
You see that here, and the idea is literally oh, well, we can just copy and paste code. It will save our batteries. It's creepy,
dude,
when you think about it on that kind of level.
It's creepy because it could happen.
And there's so many things we could talk about. One character talks about while they're eating food in the real world, and they're just eating mush because they don't have anything. And he proposes the question. He's like, "How do you know what chicken tastes like? You only know what chicken tastes like because of what the simulation told you the chicken tastes like. But the robots, how do they know what chicken tastes like?
Because that's why chicken tastes like everything.
Yeah,
that is wild.
Yeah."
Yeah, that's interesting. Do Sheep's Dream? It's not Philip K. Dick. It's one of the very famous.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Electronic Sheep's Dream. So an incredible double bill.
Yeah.
So if you want to lose your mind entirely, especially here in 2024, watch World on a Wire and The Matrix back to back, and realize how they are knocking at the door.
Yeah.
These are definitely ways that some of humanity can go at some point.
Yeah.
We now know that. Yeah. That's why I stand true that any sci-fi can come true.
It's an interesting theory, and this one is unfortunately the scariest one, I think.
Yeah. And I think it'd be fascinating to log into an MMO, and then all of a sudden you're just having your avatar and haptic neural feedback.
You know what's scary is I think there are people that would
100%
accept this without batting an eye.
That the masses, I think the masses would.
If they could, if they could plug into the machine and then they could be whoever they wanted, wherever they wanted, however they wanted, they would do it. A lot of people would do it without question.
Without question. I mean, I tasted a little bit of it with World of Warcraft in high school and how much I loved that. And it's different. It's different, but it was an awesome ad being.
Well, I mean, when I got into VR,
yeah,
I see the appeal of creating your own world.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. Horrible economic times, overpopulated, the flats, the stacks in Ready Player One.
Yeah,
you just plug in, and you don't have to think about it.
Yeah,
you blue pill yourself.
Yeah,
because it is tough, and it's tough on a lot.
I do
of
think
people
we see a Ready Player One scenario in our lifetime.
I do.
Maybe not to that degree.
Dude, they're doing a Roblox test thing. It's only 8 kids in Europe, and they're paying teenagers to work the Roblox online store and shifts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, dude, we see Ready Player One. I have no doubt.
I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as we see it in the movie.
No, I worry about Mr. Patucki's, I don't know if you say her name, but her generation.
Yeah.
Wit. And then, and because I don't think their reality is going to resemble ours.
No.
Unless intentionality in parenting, right? And that separation and doing what we can, but at some point they're going to be raised by their peers.
Ooh.
And their peers are the entire world now.
Yeah.
And these movies are going to happen.
Yeah.
Ready Player One's that would have been a good triple bill.
I like to do that soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And wifey likes that one too. We could throw that one on.
Yeah.
But so that was World on a Wire and The Matrix. If you're watching video, this may just be a Matrix one. Like catch our podcast.
Yeah.
Because it has World on a Wire in it, and we definitely bring the two together. In a beautiful, horrifying, and haunting marriage. But seriously, I love this. I love watching movies that expand the soul and grow the mind and just make you experience things you'd never thought before, from empathy to horror to whatever it is. It's amazing. So thank you. What's his name? The director on The Wire again?
Fassbinder.
Thank you, Fassbinder. Thank you, Wachowskis, and everybody that continues to just. I love the movies that push the boundaries.
Yeah,
we need another something to come out, and maybe we're too close to it now. Maybe it's going to take some time, and people are a little too freaked out, especially because AI might be used to make that movie. So what? Like, dude,
that's a whole other conversation where it bleeds into artistry, and I just think that's a sin.
We're both
a crime.
Enormously anti-AI in the arts. Like, let it detect cancer, let it plumbing. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? Like the accounting, like things like, but don't, come on, man. Like, we are souls, and souls express ourselves through art. And like, that's why these could happen, and probably are doomed.
It's sad though, because you don't want to see them take any kind of job. You don't want to see them take even. Well,
then you need UBI or something to brunt that impact or blunt that impact. And
but it's scary. I mean, it's unstoppable, really.
So enjoy, watch movies while you still can. And I'm even a techno optimist, which is funny. I am.
Right.
I think at some point we steer it okay, and it goes.
It's interesting that you gravitate to that movie more than. Because I don't think it's a positive.
This is a much darker.
Yeah.
This is a much darker, more sanitized void of a view. Yeah, The Matrix. I mean, it ends. Spoilers, but the good dude kind of kicks the bad dude's butt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and then kind of goes on the ending of The Matrix. Very much. I mean, he does get the girl and everything like another movie, but he's showing. He literally ends the movie literally with Neo revealing his ability to other people.
Wow, yeah, that's a much more spiritual movie.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
or this is the Alien quadrilogy, by the way. Go ahead and drool, horror fans.
Okay,
but shout out Pops. Thanks, Dad. Happy Father's Day, by the way. And Juneteenth.
Yeah.
And everything. I don't know when you're listening to this. Is why I don't usually include stuff like that. But just, we love you all.
Yep.
Go get depressed and watch these movies. Get depressed and smash that 5-star review on Spotify, Apple, wherever you find us. Share us with your fat moms. We love you guys. We love movies. I really do thank God for this art form. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
We travel to different worlds, planets, reality simulations. And I hope we can do this forever.
Me too.
You got Ken.
You got Rob.
And we watch way more movies than you. See it, people.
Sorry, people.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Here's Johnny.
Can I help you?
Yes, my name is Bond. James Bond.
Make your lives extraordinary.
Restless.
No vote two. No vote two.
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk free.
Welcome to I Watch More Movies Than You. And please take that as a challenge. What else on earth can you spend $10 and then leave the planet for 2 hours? Only movies. Come join us as we experience, explore, and journey through the greatest art form in history.
And here we